Hey folks, welcome back. Holy cow, it's been 2 weeks, right? Been 2 weeks. That's what happens when you have a spring break, and I hope you had a decent spring break. Truth of the matter is, you all work, and so while you might have a spring break from school, that doesn't necessarily mean you have one from work, right? I get it. I get it. My wife and I, we were actually able to take the whole week off, including her. She works up at the hospital, and so it's not often we can both take the time off, but we were able to do that, so that was nice. I got some things done, and then I got a lot of nothing done, but that's all right. You need a blend of it, right? All right. Well, great. Looks like we've got folks coming on in. Chime on in. Say hi. Let me know you're there. And we will get started. So let's pull things up. You're still there. All right. All right. We got Shane. We got Kiara. Hey, Kiara. And we've got Stephanie and Sarah. Fantastic. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Spring break, never long enough, right? Oh, my gosh. It's so true. It is so true. You know, I'm actually going to make a video about this. All right. So we're going to talk for just a second. It's okay to love your job. In fact, you should totally love your job. And we all want to love our job, and I love my job. But if you love your job more than spending time at home, there's a problem. So, yeah, I'm going to make a video about that for Nutshell Brainery one of these days. How many assignments due this week across all the classes? I'd rather not have the break at all. Oh, my gosh, ain't that the truth? You know, I make sure that I have no assignments due during the break, but then after the break, yeah, I kind of have. And then so during the break, no email, right? And then on Monday, my inbox is flooded. It's crazy. Okay, let's get started. So as you see here, what we're talking about today is effective team communication. So you are all part of teams now. You're starting to meet with your teams. You're starting to kind of get to know each other. You're starting to storm, right? The whole purpose of the team charter was to kind of force conversations that you wouldn't have if you had a choice, okay? So we are now starting to come together as a team, but we want to move out of storming and into norming. And that means communication. So what we're going to talk about today is how teams can communicate, how to resolve conflict. There will be conflict. There's always conflict, okay? So we're going to talk about how to resolve that conflict and how to hold effective meetings so that when you come together to get stuff done, you're getting stuff done. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and jump into this. I guess I'll come over to this button. Here we go. Let's first talk about conflict, all right? So we're going to take a couple minutes. What I'd like to ask you is, when I say conflict, what comes to mind? What are the first words that come to mind when I say conflict? So let's play with that for a couple of minutes here. Okay, we have got some great comments here, so we're going to start getting some light bulbs. Disagreeing with someone because we have a different point of view. Oh, heavens, I'm doing that nonsense again. These buttons that I use, they do different things with different programs, so it depends on which one is pulled up. It might mess with you. Anyway, so disagreeing, people fighting, arguing, people thinking their idea is better and not being open-minded. Oh my gosh, yes, isn't that the truth, right? I'm here. Let's see, problems, arguing, clash, and confrontation, dispute, struggle. Holy hell, right? It just sounds nasty. And by the way, in full disclosure, I really hate conflict, okay? I am probably the most allergic to conflict person in this group right now. Now, of course, I have no idea, but I am so not into conflict that, yeah, I get it. However, I want to reframe conflict, okay? Conflict arises when we perceive that another person has challenged, damaged, or put at risk something we care about. And all the definitions that you offered there support that, all the feelings that you have about conflict. If you are challenging something that I care about, or you're damaging it, or you're putting it at risk, conflict occurs, okay? All right. But now here's the thing. There's different types of conflict. Some conflict is highly functional, okay? Whereas some conflict is dysfunctional. So we've got soccer going on here, right? Well, now, if you're playing soccer, that is conflict. But it's in the construct of a game. And if you play games, there is conflict. I want to win, you want to win. That is something important to me. It's important to you. I'm putting it at risk. You're putting it at risk. I care about my skills and you're challenging my skills. But in the construct of a game, conflict is fun. We actually look for opportunities to have conflict when it's a game. On the other hand, in the very same soccer stadium, you can have destructive conflict. And all those things you mentioned there, yeah, that's what we think about when we think of destructive conflict. In truth, though, conflict is just a way of thinking and approaching. So there's this video by Margaret Heffernan, I think it is. It's a TED Talk called Dare to Disagree. And she tells the story of, she would come up with these theories, these studies, and so on and so forth. And she had this one friend, an older guy, who she would take her work to him, and his job was to find flaws and to find ways that she was wrong, or find ways that she didn't think of everything, or find ways that she did not ask the question properly or gather the data properly. In other words, he was there to provide conflict. But the day that he looked at her work and said, I can't find anything, then she knew she had it right. So this conflict was helping her better understand the topic, figure out how to research it, how to approach it, how to ask the questions, and so forth. So she called them, thinking partners who aren't part of the echo chamber. He was not part of the echo chamber. And as a result, he's able to bring insights through conflict that she would not have had otherwise. So conflict really can be beneficial. And she even called it a kind of love. Now, I really like this idea of a kind of love, okay? So we just had the module about feedback, and I hope you watched the videos on feedback, because one of the things I point out is if I don't care about you, I'm not going to provide feedback. It's only when I care about you and your performance and your happiness and your success in the organization that I am going to provide feedback. One student one time told me he was part of a swim team, and his coach said, you know, if I ride you and I'm really pushing you and I'm giving you feedback and I'm critically analyzing and I'm constantly on you, that means I think you have potential. On the other hand, if you're on the swim team and I never talk to you, you know you have a problem. So conflict, feedback, it is a special kind of love. It is a kind of love. And I know that sounds weird, but frankly, I am so allergic to conflict that I have to really care about you to really get into good, hard feedback. And I do care about you, and you have received some good, hard feedback, some of the teams, and so on and so forth. So you kind of see where I'm coming from there. So let's talk about different types of conflict, and then we're also going to talk about how to overcome certain kinds of conflict. Now, as we go through this, I'm going to share with you the types of conflict that I tend to exhibit. I'll show you a little meter and so forth. I'd love it if you would share with me the sort of conflict that you exhibit, because truth of the matter is we all introduce conflict into the system. We often think of it as something that other people do to us. No. We do it to each other. Okay? So let's think about how we approach things. Inner conflict, okay, occurs within an individual, often involving loyalties, priorities, values, and so forth, when we are conflicted about something. So, for example, if you have to meet with the team, but there's an opportunity to go out with your friends or something or another, there's going to be inner conflict because, well, I should be meeting, but then again, right now you may be multitasking. And so there's some inner conflict going on with you right now because on one hand, you want to pay attention. On the other hand, it's hard to pay attention, right? And so there's inner conflict going on. Then there's person versus person conflict, right? This is what we tend to think about, one-on-one conflict manifests when two people find themselves at odds over personality differences, values, loyalties, any number of issues. It's a strange thing. Tell me if you experience this. I find that if you line up 100 people, 98 of them, I'll be like, fine, they're fine, whatever, okay. One person in that 100, I'll be like, they're awesome. Some reason I'm drawn to that person. Charismatic, I admire, referent power. I want to be your friend. On the other hand, there's one person out of the 100 that I'm like, I can't stand you. I don't know why. I think you're a fine person. But there's just something about you that drives me bonkers, right? And so conflict can occur there because every once in a while, that person's on a team with you at work or something like that. Shane says, typically for me, it's more 1 to 100. Fair enough, right? Fair enough. I get it. I totally get it. Okay. Then we have intergroup conflict. This takes place when we have a formed group, but there's conflict within the group. You guys are going to experience this a ton. If you have not already, you probably have already, but you're going to experience this more. That's okay. We're going to talk about how to work through it. And then we have intra-group conflict. Arises when members of existing groups find themselves at odds and choose sides and so forth. Okay? Then you got person versus group conflict. Occurs when a member of the group breaks the rules and norms, just different types and so forth. But now let's stop with all this theory stuff. Looks like you can't be anyone's friend, right? It's like, I can be friends, honest. Let's stop talking about this theory and stuff, and let's talk about how to actually work through this, all right? Some people are what we would call avoiders, okay? I'm kind of an avoider, all right? I'm non-confrontational. I ignore or pass over issues. I deny that there's a real problem. All right. I tend to be an avoider. It's like let's take denies the issue is a problem. I'm really good at denying that the issue is a problem. My thought is, well, if it's not going to end the world, it's not a real problem. If it doesn't affect the organization in a tremendous way, it's not a problem. If it doesn't affect me that way, it's not a problem. So I tend to be an avoider. We're going to talk about how to get over these folks, how to work through them, work through people like me. Some people are competitors, all right? It's a win-lose style, confrontational, assertive, aggressive, must win at any cost. I am not a competitor, okay? I frankly don't care who wins because, frankly, I don't know that it matters that much, all right? Like in a team, let's say that a team is having a conflict over which idea to follow for a team project. They're both fine. Remember, I'm non-confrontational, so I'm like, it's not a problem. They're both fine, whichever. Well, the competitor will say, it has to be my way. You guys already called this out. So now, Christopher, you're a competitor. All right, cool. So you get it, right? You get it. Sarah, all right. Shane, oh my gosh, you guys, that's scary. I have no idea, but if you're all on the same team, that's going to be a hoot. By the way, if you want to have a winning team, you like competitors because competitors care, right? The passive person like me, who was our previous example, they don't care as much. Whereas competitors say, no, this matters. So winning teams tend to be full of competitors. All right. Some people are collaborators. All right. They kind of have a problem-solving style. Needs both sides legitimate, sees both sides as legitimate, important, high level of respect, mutual, assertive, and cooperative. I am a collaborator. Okay. So I am passive. But then when I see conflict and I see the competitors really pushing for a solution, I tend to come in and say, okay, we can find a way that we can make this work. All right. So you like to have collaborators on the team as well to make sure that everything gets done eventually. All right. Compromisers. All right. Compromising is important that to a compromiser, they feel that it's important that all sides achieve the basic goals and maintain relationships. Aggressive but cooperative. Obviously, compromise needs to happen. That's just a given. The difference is a competitor says, all right, I'm willing to compromise, but not at the cost of, say, quality or opportunity or something like that. So again, these are all important elements of the team. Compromisers try to find ways to level things out. And then you have an accommodator. Accommodating style is agreeable, non-assertive behavior, cooperative, even at the expense of personal goals. I tend to be an accommodator. It's like, okay, if once, I'll give you an example. At Intel Corporation, there's a philosophy. Yeah, peacekeepers. I like that, right? I like that a lot. I hit the right button. At Intel Corporation, there's a saying called disagree and commit. Disagree and commit says, listen, you can fight for your side, you can really push hard, you can bring all the data and so forth, and you can disagree hard. But once a decision is made, you commit to that decision. If it's not your decision, if it's not your idea, it doesn't matter. Once the team has committed to a direction, you commit to that direction. This is where everybody should be an accommodator once the team has made a decision. There's nothing more poisonous to a team than once a decision is made and somebody is still working against that decision. That means there needs to be some work to overcome this, okay? So, all right. Let's see, I have a hard time with people pleasers. Yeah, you know what, Sarah? You bring up a good point. There's a difference between a people pleaser and accommodating. Let's explore that just a smidge, okay? So, agreeable, non-assertive behavior, all right, that's a little bit of a people pleaser. Cooperative, though, a people pleaser is like, okay, is just making the sounds, right? But cooperative says, hey, I'm still going to put in the effort. I'm still going to work as though it was my idea. That's the disagree and commit sign. But I'm with you. I'm with you on that, right? Hey, Moving Death is with us. Hey, trick YouTube algorithms. Now, with people who know how to write computer. Hey, did you know AI will write computer code for you now? Oh my gosh. Don't get me started on AI. Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. Okay. Sarah, I easily get frustrated when people don't just allow themselves to have convictions. You know what? That's a really good point. And let me hit another one there. I love this one. I hear what you're saying, Sarah. Allow themselves to have convictions. I don't know that I have convictions. Obviously, I have convictions. But I'm not married to the idea that my convictions are better than your convictions. And when it comes to working as a team, we all have to kind of subordinate ourselves to the mission of the team. And so, for example, at Salt Lake Community College, I have convictions about how to teach, how to do things, and so forth. On the other hand, there are some things that we need to do for the good of the institution. And sometimes I disagree with them, but I do them for the good of the institution, even though they go against my convictions. Because, we all have to cooperate, right? So, I hear what you're saying. I think I'm light on my convictions, but I think that's a flaw in me. But I think other people can be overly heavy on their convictions such that it's my way or the highway. And that's just as toxic. So, yeah, really good point. So explain AI, understand. Yeah, I'm telling you, it is absolutely, I got to make sure I have the right thing connected there, Moving Death, to get the light bulb there. Absolutely amazing. Okay, Shane, I really struggle with people who are uncoachable, right? Unadaptable. All right, so now this is big for me, Shane. Coachability is freaking key. This is a conviction I have. If you are uncoachable, if you are unable to take and integrate feedback, your life, especially your professional life, will be so much more difficult. Okay? So, if your conviction is, I'm already right, I'm always right, well, then we've got a problem. If your conviction is, I'm better today than I was yesterday, but not as good as I'll be tomorrow because somebody's going to give me feedback and I'll be better tomorrow, that's coachability. I am so on board with you there. Okay. Seeing people pleasers start to come out of their shell, and I love to see that. Isn't that true? Yeah. Yeah, especially once you get past that forming stage. We're all in people pleaser mode in the forming stage. Okay, let's learn how to manage some of this conflict. How do we get through it? What do we actually do? Instead of just talking about it in big theory, actually do. Okay, so let's talk low conformers. I am a low conformer. I think that's pretty obvious, right? I'm a low conformer. That's why that dial, it's over here. That dial is all the way gone to 11. I'm a low conformer. Think independently, want to do things differently from others in the group, therefore creating conflict. And as you can see, I do I do this differently. I do all kinds of things differently because I'm independent. I'm a low conformer. All right. And that has its place. Guys, when we talk about working through this, we're not talking about squishing it. We're talking about accentuating the positives and mitigating the negatives. Okay. So how do we, let's see. How do we work through this? By the way, why are they like this? Well, they tend to think you can't do the same, you can't keep doing things the same way and expect different results or even improved results. Yeah, totally. I mean, take Zoom meetings for a moment. Why do I do it like this? Because I know that Zoom meetings are boring as hell. This is just boring as crap, but Zoom meetings are boring as hell. You can't just keep doing it and expect people to all of a sudden get excited. You have to do things differently. Okay, how do we resolve low conformers? Resist the urge to force them to conform. If Salt Lake Community College were to come to me and say, Lon, you cannot use live stream the way you are. It has to be Zoom with a fuzzy background. There would be a problem. You can't force a low conformer to conform, all right? Support them when others are critical, right? So if others are critical of what they're doing, you want to show some support to show that the low conformer has some value in the organization. But this is key. Keep them focused on the constraints, time, budget, stakeholder expectations. Low conformers, it's really easy for them to get out of control. And out of control means you're going to miss your deadlines, you're going to miss budget, you're going to miss the stakeholder expectations. So, for example, when you guys are working as a team, you have deadlines, right? Due dates. You have deadlines. You also have stakeholder expectations. I'm the stakeholder. And so you want to make sure that, and you have a budget, which is zero. Actually, you have a budget. If you want to know about a budget, let me know. I'll tell you about a budget. You do have a budget. Nevertheless, the point is, so long as the low conformer is not putting at risk the key objectives, then you want to give that low conformer space to do things. I am not hitting Slick's budget. I am delivering my live streams on time, and I'm hitting the learning objectives. Therefore, there should be no problem with what I'm doing. Okay. Every once in a while, we have envious people cause conflict by wanting something that somebody else in the group has, such as influence, respect, work, assignment. I'm not generally envious. I didn't put this all the way over. You know, you see that thingamajigger, the needle. Every once in a while, I'm a little envious that somebody gets some sort of project opportunity or gets something, an opportunity to do something. But generally, I'm not envious. But you know what? In the workplace, it's kind of competitive. You want those opportunities. You want to serve on these projects. You want the chance to be visible to the decision makers and so forth for promotional opportunities. So we have envious people. Well, why are they envious? Well, we always compare ourselves to our circumstances and our peers to assess where we stand in the world. Used properly, envy can drive us forward, motivate us to set goals, work harder, apply our faculties to get what we want. To some degree, the reason you are in school is because you are, envy may not be the right word, covetous is not the right word at all, but you desire something that you see out there and you don't have. Therefore, you're willing to put in the work. You're willing to go to school. You do the assignments, work with the teams, and so forth. Envy drives us to put in the work to attain what we want. So it can be a positive driver, okay? Resolution, help them understand and articulate what they want. Oftentimes, envy can be kind of nebulous. I'm not sure what it is that I'm envying. And so take the time to help them articulate what they want and then give them opportunities to get what it is they want. If the person wants to serve on different projects, if they want opportunity to give a presentation in front of a VP and so forth, give them opportunities to gain those skills, to practice and so on and so forth so they can get what they want. Because again, envy can drive action and desirable behavior. You don't want to squash envy. You want to direct it toward improvement. Okay. And then follow up when they deliver and contribute, right? They want that recognition, follow up and give them the recognition. Okay. Whiners and complainers. Okay, I'm not bad. I'm like a 30%. Yeah, 35. I'll say I'm a 35% whiner and complainer. Okay. Never happy with the direction of the team and discusses their problems and complaints constantly. I don't discuss my problems and complaints. I don't like it when people discuss problems and complaints. However, I'm not always happy with the direction. Therefore, that's why I give myself about a 35 on this. Why are they this way? Complaining is just a less attractive form of a desire for things to be better, to do better. Think of complaining as problem. In order to solve a problem, you have to identify and define the problem. Complaining is just a less attractive way of identifying and defining a problem. So in business, you need complaining. You need to identify problems. If you don't identify problems, you've got a problem, okay? And that's what complaining is. It shows a lack of tolerance for what we perceive as mediocre. If you're complaining with how things are going, you're essentially saying, I don't like the stage we're at. We need to do better. This should be better. Now, I want to be clear. There's complaining, and then there's complaining and coming with possible solutions. And then there's complaining and coming with possible solutions and being willing to implement and work hard to make those solutions a reality. That's the sweet spot. So there's nothing wrong with complaining. It's just if you don't follow it up with solutions and hard work, now we've got an issue. All right, so what's the resolution? Listen, but not too much. Don't just let them go off. You need to kind of keep them focused. Do frequent reality checks. Okay, when they're complaining and they make an assertion that so-and-so is always like this, it's like, well, okay, hold on. What do you mean? Give me a specific example, right? Tell me about a time where you perceived this and so on. Give me an example of where that hindered the team and what we're talking about here. So you need to do frequent reality checks because otherwise a complainer can go out of control. Require facts rather than implications. Once again, with these frequent reality checks, you want to say, give me a specific example. How did this harm that? Why is this subpar? Why do you think this can be better? And what do you think is the right way to get it better? Require them to be specific because once again, there's nothing wrong with identifying problems, complaining, but there is a problem if you're not following through and making it reality-based. Okay, passive, unresponsive people. Oh, this is me. When I'm in a meeting, I tend to be passive and unresponsive. All right. Seem agreeable on the surface, but respond to conflict by shutting down. If I see there's conflict in a meeting, I am so out. I'm still sitting in my chair, but I have checked out completely. If I see conflict in a meeting, I've checked out. Why are they like this? Why am I like this? Well, if our contributions are not valued, okay, and should be a D there instead of an S, we'll apply our faculties in areas where they're more appreciated. It's like, listen, if you guys are just going on and on and on and on, and I'm trying to bring us back to center and you're shutting me down and you just want to go on and on and on and complain, it's like, fine, I'm gone, I'm out. I've got better things to do. I'll apply my time and energy there. What's the resolution? Ask open-ended questions. And open-ended questions are actually a superpower, right? Instead of asking a yes or no question, Lon, are you good with that direction? Yeah, you bet. It's like, Lon, how do you think this could work better? All right, well, now I have to respond. Lon, what do you feel about the way that we're approaching this issue? All right, now I have to respond. I can't just sit back and be passive. You're asking an open-ended question. Ask for specific contributions. Lon, we need you to deliver the minutes on this meeting by this time, or we need you to provide the artwork for this at this time. We need you to write an article for this by this time. Ask for very specific contributions, because if they're just quiet and sitting in the corner, they're going to avoid all the action items. They're going to avoid all the work. And then later you're going to complain that they never do anything. And it's like, well, what did you ask them to do specifically? So you need to get specific contributions. Don't fill in the space, right? If they're working through something, don't talk over them. Validate their contributions when they do speak up. In the rare instance that one of these people does speak up, who's really quiet in the meeting, call them out. Say, yeah, that's good. Thank you. That's important. Following up on what Lon said, I think we ought to do this, this, and this, because Lon made me think that maybe we're approaching this different. Okay, so that shows that this person, Lon in this case, is a valued member of the group. Okay, then you have excuse makers. I'm not an excuse maker by any shape. All right, that's kind of a conviction of mine, right? Owning my convictions. I have a whole story about that. Point is, I don't make excuses. But why do people make excuses? And say, well, it's not my fault and so forth. Well, they're afraid of the shame that failure can bring, right? So the desire to avoid shame is a strong driver. If we detect that the group will shame us if we're associated with a failure, we'll do our best to distance ourselves from accountability. So when we make excuses, we're trying to avoid accountability and shame that comes from failure. Moving Death says, I had to remind one of my employees they can't be late because they're in the healthcare field. Oh, yeah, you can't be late. Dealing with humans and not a product on an assembly line that can be shut off and, dealt with later on. Yes. And oh my gosh, why did that do what it did? I'm going to close this out and then bring this back up. I'm going to pop out the chat. And there it is. Yes, Moving Death, you're absolutely right. We're getting another point for that one because that's important. And in honor of your fellow aliens, we'll bring in Mars Attacks. But they're bad guys. You're good guys. Moving Death, I totally agree. So my wife works in the healthcare industry. And to me, oh my gosh, you know how doctors are always running behind and so forth, and it's not my fault, and so it is. Anyway, thank you for that. Totally agree. All right? Totally agree. Okay. How do you deal with these people? All right? Don't be dismissive of the excuse. It may actually be real and require some sort of resolution. So in the case, Moving Death, let's say that you're reminding your employees that they need to be on time because they have to actually work with human beings. And this is a hands-on deal. And they say, you know what, I'm late because scheduling did this, that, and the other. There actually might be a problem with scheduling. So it may not be that the person is making an excuse. It may be that they're helping to identify a problem. So we want to look at that. All right. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Why are you late? What happened? What can we do to avoid this in the future? Express, I know this sounds funky, folks, but bear with me. Express disappointment, not anger. Here's the thing. Anger brings about an immediate gut reaction to defend ourselves. It does. When somebody's angry at us, we respond in kind. It's natural. It's normal. On the other hand, when you express disappointment, if the person cares at all, it kind of breaks their heart a little bit. And a broken heart is a contrite heart, and it's a heart that is willing to be taught and is coachable and can learn. I remember a time that I let my manager down at Intel, Penny Bivens, my closest friend today. Back then, she was my manager. And I looked up to her. I still look up to her an awful lot. And she expressed disappointment in me one time, and it cut me to the quick. It just ruined me, and I thought, there's no way I'm ever going to disappoint her again. Never. I'm going to fix this. So I was motivated to action. Whereas there's plenty of times where she's gotten angry at me, and I get angry back. It's just the way it is. All right? So express disappointment. Help excuse makers save face. You don't want to shame them. Disappointment can motivate to action. Shame shuts them down. If you really want to learn more about shame, check out Brené Brown, her TED Talks. She's written a ton of books too, but you ought to check out her TED Talks. I'm going to write down Brené Brown. She has 2 TED Talks. They're amazing, and they talk about shame. You don't want to shame the excuse makers. It will shut them off. You don't want that. Okay. Set clear expectations and follow through. You want to make sure that they're not getting away with it over and over and over. All righty. Okay. Stretch, everyone. Oh, where'd my hands go? Yeah. We need to shift gears for a moment, and we're going to talk about effective meetings. I want to call something out. Boring. Oh my gosh. Boring to talk about meetings. The only thing more boring than talking about how to run meetings is to actually have a meeting. Okay? I despise meetings. Actually, absolutely despise them. Tiffany, I don't know. I needed to stretch until you said something. Ain't that true? It's like, oh, come on. We got to kind of rejuvenate things here a little bit. We still got to get to 20, folks. So here's the deal. I hate meetings. Loathe them with a passion. All right. So the way to avoid hating meetings is to have effective meetings. Short, to the point, get the work done. And that's what we're going to talk about how to do. Move and Death taught me to give my employees the same great experience I gave the vendors and customers. They love me even though I do complain. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Bringing the customers and vendors into the picture. Oh, sweet. Very nice. Okay. Let's talk about meetings. Yeah, meetings suck. It's not just me saying this, right? These are real books. Bad meetings happen to good people. Meetings, death, death by meeting, right? Caden says, I hate meetings, especially when they're made on Fridays. Oh my gosh. Yeah, right? So, hey, true story. True story. Oh gosh, I shouldn't even tell it. Couple Fridays ago, they called a meeting on Friday at like 3 p.m. And it was the most useless meeting ever. I'm not going to go into details, but it was like, people, we teach this crap. Why are we doing it? Okay. So yeah, with you. So we need to make sure we're doing this well. So first of all, prepare for the meeting. Define the purpose of the meeting and the expected outcomes. Why are you meeting? What are we going to walk away with? Okay. Define who should be there, reserve a room and any equipment required, develop an agenda. Guys, the way to make sure that meetings are short, sweet, and time well used is to define the purpose of the meeting, define the expected outcomes, and create an agenda. Think about this for a moment. Just play with this idea for half a second. What's your time worth? Now, let's say that in the corporate world, your time is worth $200 an hour. They're paying you essentially what comes out to maybe $150, $200 an hour. Let's say your time was worth $200 an hour. Let's say that you are calling together 5 people for an hour. That means that is a $1,000 meeting to the company. If you are not going to get $1,000 of value out of that meeting, you shouldn't call the meeting. Now imagine when they call the whole workforce together, 30, 40, 50 people at an average of maybe $50 to $75 an hour, and they do this crap and there's nothing you get out of it. That meeting just cost them $20,000. You want to make sure you're doing this right, okay? So move and death, you say 5 hats brainstorming. I have a video there on 6 hats brainstorming, and yeah, really effective way to use that time. Mwah, great example. Okay, now when it comes to an agenda, guys, you got to take the time to prepare it. But if you prepare an agenda, the time goes by really fast, and I love that. I get excited. You want to have a time frame, the topic, who's going to lead the discussion, and what the expected outcome is. Okay? For 10 minutes, we're going to discuss who's going to write the strategic plan, and the expected outcome is we are going to assign roles and responsibilities in writing the strategic plan. We're going to decide the best channels to use in our campaign. We're going to collect questions for the instructor to assign somebody to ask the instructor so we can get the information. We know what the topic is. We know how long we're going to talk about it. We know who's going to lead the conversation, and we know what we're going to walk away with. I'm telling you, if you follow this kind of discipline, meetings go by in minutes, not hours. Okay? So you want to do that. Time allotted, discussion topic, phrased into a question. By the way, the fact that you're phrasing the discussion topic in a question is important because it forces you to answer it. If the discussion topic is strategic plan, what are we discussing? That's different than who's going to write the first draft of the strategic plan, facilitator, and then expected outcome. Okay. Now, preparing for effective meetings also talks about distributing the agenda to everybody 24 hours in advance, and then let people know if there's any pre-work they need to do for the meeting, right? Is there anything I need to read, anything I need to do, anything I need to bring to the meeting, so that when everybody shows up, they know what the agenda is, they're prepared for it, and they have anything done that needs to be done, okay? And we've gone through all that. All right. Now, conducting the meeting, all right? Arrive early and test the equipment. You guys see that I do that in these live streams. I'm 10 minutes early every time. I'm actually 20 minutes early, but that's because I'm testing the equipment, setting it up. And yeah, you want to make sure you got that right. Start on time, review, and stick to the agenda. The first thing you should do in the meeting is read the agenda and say, all right, we agree, we're going to stick to it. Provide time to review important materials in that agenda, and assign someone to take minutes. All right, now let's talk about minutes. Minutes, once again, like an agenda, is one of those documents that is often forgotten and yet is so valuable. In the minutes, you want to make sure that you record what decisions have been made, what are the action items, and who's going to do them and by when. Okay? So, action, decisions made. The communications campaign will include a video. The plan should be done to allow time for editing. Those are decisions made. Action items. Ask the professor the questions we collected. Who's going to do that? Penny. By when? By the end of Thursday. Right? So that way everybody knows who's going to do what and what the expectations are and why we're doing it based on the decisions that we made. Cannot stress to you how important that is. Okay? Now, when you're in the meeting, when you're participating in the meeting, and right now, you are in a meeting. Here are things you could be doing right now to get more out of this meeting. You should, study the agenda, which in this case in a class means looking at the study material so that you understand what we're discussing in the context of it. Prepare 2 to 3 questions that kind of matter to you, right? So, for example, if you're dealing with some conflict in the team and you knew we were talking about conflict resolution, you might prepare 2 or 3 questions that talk about, hey, how do we work through this kind of conflict in our team, right? This is something that would keep you engaged. In the meeting, ask clarifying questions. Now, you guys have been really good about answering the questions, really good. If there's anything you ever don't understand, ask a clarifying question. Take notes. You should be doing this because is the midterm done? Have we already done the midterm? Or I think it's coming up, right? After the meeting, what do you want to do? Send out the minutes to everyone, all right? You've recorded the minutes, send them out. Follow up on the action items. Make sure everybody has what they need to deliver on those action items. Solicit additional help and support where needed. So if you need additional help and support from me, reach out, right? And reach out with specific questions. And there you go. By the way, Shane says, I don't think this class I don't think for this class, but for many of the others, midterm is done. Okay. Yeah, the midterm for us is a little different because for me, it's not so much of a midterm as it is a prepare for the final project, right? Make sure you have all your ducks in a row. And so it should be here real soon. Should be. So, folks, that is everything. Oh, wrong button. Let's do that. Trust me. Oh, and here, let's give you another one for there. Bam. In the not too distant future. Is he gonna pick my nose? Okay, so that's everything when it comes to resolving team conflict and holding effective meetings. I want to be clear. I get that meetings are not exciting and preparing for them is not like the most exquisite thing you've ever done, but I'm telling you, it pays off. So if you work at having good, effective, efficient meetings, it is going to help you tremendously. And I just wish everybody would do that, including folks that I work with, because, yeah, we need better meetings. So that's everything. Send me an email. Let me know you're here. We've got up to 15 points. That's good. We're not always going to get to 20. We got 15. That's good. And we'll make sure you get those points. And Moving Death, thank you for joining us, everyone, just so you know. He's not a student, but his comments are getting you points too. So he's your hero. All right. Shane, the extra credit numbers are down, need to get back. That's right. You know, it is. It's about getting, oh, darn it, wrong button again. It's about getting into the groove for spring, right after spring. I get it. Got to kind of get the engines going again. All right. Everyone, thank you very much. Let me know what I can do to help with the teams. Things are going to start getting awfully busy, awfully fast. So get engaged. All right. Don't let them slip by these days. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a fantastic day. I'm going to stick around for any questions you might have. But otherwise, we're all set. Moving Death, I have to lead a team Sunday for an hour, team meeting for an hour. That's a long one. I'm telling you what, Moving Death, use these tips and tricks and it will be better. I promise. Totally promise. All right. My team connected our objective statement and I posted the update. Good. Thank you, Shane. Excellent. All right. Not that I'm trying for the comment. It's all cool. You guys are swimming in so much extra credit. It's great. Have a good one, everyone. Boy, the system's messing with me again. Pi Day. That's right. 314.